Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year, one of the best RPGs out there. Most of us are extremely impressed, not just with the game itself, but also Larian Studios and how they've put the quality of the game front and center. They prioritized it, and profits have come second. Despite that, there is still a group of people that is very upset. And I'm referring to fans of Xbox Game Pass because Swen Vink, the CEO of Larian, he recently announced that Baldur's Gate 3 will not be coming to Game Pass, and it has left some people feeling betrayed. They are very mad. Now, there's nothing wrong with there being different options available for how you experience a game, whether you buy it like we have traditionally, or it is on a service like Game Pass, but I respect Larian's right to want to maintain that high value of Baldur's Gate 3. They know it's a phenomenal title they've produced, and it is worth full price. I happily paid full price for it, and I did that something like 3 years ago when it was still in early access. Even for just that one act, that 1/3 of the game we got back then, I still thought it was worth the $60, $70 I paid for it back then. So for getting this full 120 plus hour game for the standard price of any other game, it feels like a steal. It's one of the best value propositions on the market. And I was quite shocked to see that there are still people upset that it's still not good enough, apparently. In fact, I did even see that there was some Xbox fans saying that Larian owes them. Baldur's Gate 3 didn't release on Xbox day one. This is disgusting, and for that reason, you have to put Baldur's Gate onto Game Pass. You've got no other choice. Well, unfortunately for you guys, they do have a choice, and it was Xbox's fault anyway that the game didn't come to their console day one. There was a bunch of red tape, weird rules around the Xbox Series S that meant they couldn't do it. But it is, of course, there now. It just won't be coming to Game Pass. And what we're going to do is go over the statement from Larian's CEO on this, and then we're going to have a look at what the community has said, what these Xbox fans are saying, the ones who are quite salty. So what Swen says, and this is specifically about Baldur's Gate 3 coming to Game Pass, is we always said from the get-go it wasn't going to be on Game Pass. It's not going to be on Game Pass. He described it as a sensitive question, which makes sense given there's a lot of mad Xbox fans who he probably wants nothing to do with. But he goes on to say that Larian is in the business of making a game that has a beginning, middle, and an end. And I can really respect that because I'm not really a massive fan of these game subscription services. Now, if you are subscribed to Game Pass, maybe even on PC, power to you. Right now, it is a good value proposition. I can't argue with it. You pay a few bucks, you get access to a whole bunch of games. But the problem for gamers is it's a good proposition right now, but you just know that will change in the future. If you look at something like Netflix, when it started, it seemed like a great deal, but over time, that value proposition has gone down and down. It's snowballed, and the service is a joke now. Part of that is because when the model is proven to work, more companies want a piece of the pie. So they remove their games from something like an Xbox Game Pass and make their own. And suddenly, if you want the same amount of content that you did before, you've got to pay 2 subscriptions. And then the other problem is if it's successful for Microsoft, they're just going to want more money. They're going to keep putting the price of Game Pass up. That has already happened a few times. With games, it may even be worse than movies and TV shows as well, because they will start designing the games around the whole subscription model. For instance, let's make a game that we don't mind giving away kind of for free. I mean, it's part of the Game Pass subscription, so it's not free, but it's not as if you're paying $60, $70 just for that game. They want to get you in the door, but then they're going to start really pushing those microtransactions. There's going to be more than ever, more DLC, so that you essentially do still pay that $60, $70 to get all of the content, and you're having to pay a sub on top of it. I also think that if we lived in a subscription-only world for games, so let's say you couldn't just go on Steam and buy it, you had to subscribe to something to get access. If that was the case, you would never get a Baldur's Gate 3-like ever again. And that is because it encourages rushed, get-it-out-the-door content instead of producing games of value. Again, you only have to look at Netflix, their original TV shows. How many of them are memorable? I remember at the start there was some okay ones. Over time, it is all forgettable, bland junk that they just chuck on the service so they can say there's a new original series, and then you gobble it up like some cheap takeaway. You never think about it ever again. I don't want games to go that way, and I am worried about some of the RPG developers like Obsidian, like in Exile, who've made some good titles in the past. I think that they will make some good games to begin with. We might get some good RPGs, but I just hope they don't end up becoming Game Pass fodder studios, where rather than spending 4 or 5 years on the best game possible, they rush something out in 3 years, get it on Game Pass, move on to the next one. That conveyor belt, rinse and repeat. I'm concerned it's going to go that way. But the good news is Larian are clearly not interested in any of that. Swen, the CEO, he's a smart guy. He's been in this business a long time. I think he can see what's coming in the future. That Game Pass will not be good for gamers. These subscription services, they are anti-consumer. And he's thinking of the long-term future. Great games, great value. He says here, we made a big game, so I think there's a fair price to be paid for that. And I think that that is okay. We don't charge you any microtransactions on top of the game, so you do get what you pay for. You get it up front, it's a big, meaty game. So I think that that should be able to exist as it is. This is what allows us to continue making other games. So yes, they're charging full price, but then that money can then get invested into the next title, which it sounds like is what they're going to do. And you know what's funny? There were leaked documents that came out from Microsoft that suggested internally Phil Spencer and his teams, they valued Baldur's Gate 3 as only being worth a once-off $5 million payment to get it onto Game Pass. Are you joking? This is one of the best games of all time. It is a juggernaut. It's now sold 20, 25 plus million copies, and that was before it even came to Xbox, and they valued it at that much. It just shows how out of touch with the market they are. It's why they always seem to fail. Everything they touch burns to the ground. We saw that with Redfall. Great management there, Microsoft. Excellent stuff. So Microsoft are clearly fools. Larian has got it right. But what are the fans saying? You would think most people would see this as being sensible, but not everyone feels that way. You would think in a world with microtransactions, live services, that an honest 100+ hour RPG releasing at full price would be a good thing. Apparently not. It's not on Game Pass, so they've betrayed me. And this is what someone says here on the Xbox Game Pass community. As a person who doesn't give a single flying fuck about Baldur's Gate, this kind of pisses me off. I'm gonna have to translate some of this. They are so angry, they type and the words are all wrong. On one hand, they say it is a game that should be enjoyed by everyone, but on the other hand, they say that they know their game is good value and they want a fair price. As if Game Pass is for free, you fucking morons. It is free to add a game for subscriber only. Devs still get money from Microsoft. They are literally saying they want players' money, not Microsoft's. So this person is imagining that Swen's in a golden castle. He's like Dr. Evil, and he's not interested in Microsoft's money. He's only interested in your money. He wants all of your money. Ha ha! He doesn't want Microsoft's. Well, actually, no. Swen's been in the industry a long time. He's been in positions before where Larian Studios has been very close to shutting down, and he knows if he's going to keep making games without microtransactions, without predatory practices, that you do have to think about what's down the road, what's coming, how are we going to develop their next game. They're in a fantastic position where they've got a product with overwhelmingly positive reviews, and people are willing to pay for it because it's a fair transaction. So they're not being greedy by not putting it on your favorite subscription service. They want to make sure that in future they can keep providing a fair product. And they know if they put it on Game Pass, suddenly a whole bunch of people who are on the fence about buying it, they probably then won't pay full price for it and they'll look for a cheap deal on the subscription. I think the last time I subscribed to Game Pass, it was like $1 a month on PC. I'm not sure if that deal is still going. That for me was for Halo Infinite. I didn't want to buy the whole game, so I thought I'll do a quick playthrough, I'll move on. I don't really care about that game. But I want to see Baldur's Gate 3 continue to succeed. And it's not just because I want to see Swen and the team get rich, although good for them. If anyone deserves it, it is those guys. But it's because I know if this does well, we're going to get more great RPGs in the future. Other publishers are much more likely to greenlight their own internal role-playing games if they can point to Baldur's Gate 3 and say, yes, that game made hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's do our own. I want to see a world where that is happening. I'm not just thinking about myself and getting a cheap deal on Game Pass so I don't have to shell out a little bit of money. I'm happy to pay if the good products are there. And if people aren't willing to do that, if they're getting salty about it, that's when we as gamers lose because we get more free-to-play games where we get a terrible experience because they want the whales who spend heaps and heaps of money on microtransactions. They want them to have a good time. And then he goes on to say, it's as if when the ugly duckling becomes a swan and looks down on everyone else. Are you serious? Larian have always been a quality studio. They hadn't got the recognition that they deserved until now, but they've pretty much always stuck to their guns in one shape or form. They deserve this. They haven't suddenly become elitist. They're on a high horse. They know their value. They're making the most of it because they're thinking of the future. It's not an ego thing or a greed thing. Their first game, Divine Divinity, it came out 25 years ago now. It's a great game. You can see some of what they do there all the way now in Baldur's Gate 3. They released Divinity 2. It's decent, it's not their best title, but that is because of publisher meddling. Swen, again the CEO, he's made mention of the fact that when he's tried to make a game like Baldur's Gate 3 in the past, he's tried to do what he really wants, that publishers get in the way, greed becomes that focus, the short term becomes the focus, and he can't do what he knows is going to make players happy. It wasn't until the Kickstarter era where he was able to get funding from fans for Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 that suddenly him and the team could do what they really wanted to do, make their dream game and do it with integrity. Larian Studios, they've got a ton of integrity. They've earned mine, everyone else's respect. This doesn't add up. And then someone below is the voice of reason and says, there is literally no way that Microsoft will pay Larian what they deserve for the rights to put the game on Game Pass. It's as simple as that. You can call everyone names, but it only emphasizes your ignorance about the situation. Thank you. And then you get this individual. Larian has the right to do as they please with their product. Bit weird to insist on it though, isn't it? It's just a streaming service. It's not like they were being knighted by the king of Xbox. I understand they wouldn't, just like Elden Ring, put their game on a subscription service right away, or even 3 or 4 years from now, but never? I don't know, people say it's a really good game, but for a single-player game to insist to not ever be on a streaming service is weird, considering the Game Pass version is vanilla, and single-player games after a few years have lots of DLCs and extra content. They've already announced that there's unlikely to be DLC. This is a full game. It's not like your other bullshit experiences where you buy it and then there's 15 other transactions before you get everything. This is a genuine, complete game. Look into it. There's tons of user reviews. One of the best experiences in 2023. This is what happens when you fanboy for one service or one console. You just get tunnel vision. I don't see why wouldn't they put vanilla version on Game Pass to hook people to buy the DLCs. Again, look into this company. They're doing great things. They don't care about that. They're trying to provide us a complete product that is quality. There's no weird strategy, predatory monetization. They just want you to buy it if you think it looks like a good game. They're not trying to hook people in. And this next bit explains it. Consider the price of entry old games are more often more expensive than new ones. They could even give you the game for free like Destiny 2. This is not Destiny 2. No one cares about that pile of dog shit, one of the most expensive games on the market, where you pay an arm and a leg, you give away a kidney, and they provide you a 5-hour new content experience. Everything else is recycled. If that's what you enjoy, continue to get ripped off by Bungie. But for us, we know what makes a good quality experience, and we don't want anything to ruin that. Please stay away, maybe. And then someone replies to him, "It is weird and seems petty and obnoxious, like they're too good for this lame sub-service that's not worthy." Don't take it personally. They've made a long-term decision that's best for their business and also best for gamers. Don't tie your entire identity around Xbox Game Pass. You're probably going to be disappointed. And there's a ton of these people. They need to throw it on sale then. Not buying a full-price game again after Cyberpunk fucked me. And then someone with a bit of sanity does say Cyberpunk was awful at launch because people had pre-ordered. This game has been out for 4 months and we know how it runs and plays. We know what it is. There's user reviews. It's not a great comparison, which is true. I honestly feel someone like this, they just don't want to buy a game at full price and they come up with some excuse about it. Yeah, with the Cyberpunk situation, the lesson learned should be to not pre-order, but I don't think the answer is to never buy a full-priced game again. Now, I understand some people, they just make the financial decision to not buy games at full price. They wait for a sale. I understand that mentality. It's probably the best financial way to go about things. But at least for me personally, I like to support quality games because unless people do support, they aren't going to get made again in the future, and you just give more ammo to the Microsofts, the EAs, the Ubisofts, to basically say, we don't want to pay for a game, we want free to play, hit us with the microtransactions, because single-player games don't sell. I want to show these publishers, and we are showing them, many people are, that if you produce an incredible game, we will buy it day one as long as it is feature complete, and there aren't a whole bunch of terrible technical issues. If you get it right, if you produce something that's quality, you will be rewarded for it. You can't cut corners, you can't try and fleece us in 1,000,001 ways, but we're ready to support if you're ready to come to the table and do right by games. And there's an endless amount of these people. Sale it is then, I'm not paying full price. Someone says, good luck, it's not going on sale anytime soon. Rightly so, this game deserves full price. And someone says, he can just pirate it, haha. And you just know this person talking about pirating it. They're the type of guy who, when suddenly all the games are full of microtransactions, they're all live services, this person is whinging despite never putting their money where their mouth is. Again, wait for a sale if it's the best thing for you to do financially, but I do feel we have to support good RPGs when they're there. I'm confident that Larian has made this decision because it's best not just for them, but the industry overall. It's best for gamers. It'll lead to the best chance of getting more Baldur's Gate 3-like experiences, high-quality experiences in the future, and I look forward to whatever they are doing next. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.